Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tira Jaya Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Bihari Jaya Girivardhari Radha Shama Sundar Radha Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Varya Astota Dasata Shri Madha's Divine Grace Iskansam Stapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Varya Astota Dasata Shri Madha's Divine Grace Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Radha Kund Shama Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Navadvi Dham Ki Shri Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Shri Radha Lalita's Saka Yamasunda Ki Shri Krishna Balaram Arju Ki Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vindiki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. It's a very difficult thing to be sitting in front of so many senior devotees like Manabhakti Prabhu and Pritu and others. Please bless me that we can say something for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. Before we speak on the Bhagavatam, I was instructed by my Guru Maharaj that we should glorify the Bhagavatam because it's said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhusaya Vishray Prati Shloki Prati Akshri Nanartha Koi, that just as Krishna is not different from the Bhagavatam, and just as we glorify Krishna, we also glorify the Bhagavatam. And Prati Shloke, Prati Akshri Nanartha Koi, each and every verse, each and every syllable of the Srimad Bhagavatam has unlimited meanings. So this will take about 5 minutes, please. Forgive me, but this is our little glorification of the Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskrityam naramschaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat vede ramayaneschaiva purane bhadate tata adavande cha madhye cha hari sarvatra giyate mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande shri gurum dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam. In Orissa, traditionally, in West Bengal also, they have what they call Bhagavat Tungis. Bhagavat Tungi is usually a small building in a village where the villagers would gather together every night to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and do kirtan. Now they're just coming together to watch television, but that's the tradition. So they sing a special song in Orissa, which my Guru Maharaj grew up with, and he told us to sing it. Paramananda, he Madhava, Padunga Luchi Makaranda, Se Makaranda Panakori, Anande Bolo Hari Hari, Harinka Name Vandavela, Parikori Be Chakadola, Se Chakadolanka Padaye, Rahu Nirantare, Manamu Nirantare Rahu, Ha Krishna, Boli Jiva Jao, Ha Krishna, Boli Jao Jiva, Moteu Dara Radha Dava, Moteu Dara Radha Dava, Moteu Dara Radha Dava. Dharma projita kaita vota paramo nirmatsuram satam vedyam vastavamatta vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite Kimba Pareshvara Sadyo Hridyavarudhyate Chakati Vishu Shushu Distakshanat Nigamakolpataro Galitam Phalam Shukamukadam Ritadrava Samyutam Pivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mohoroho Rasika Vibaluka Anarto Pasamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogam Adhoksaje Lokasya Janito Vidvams Chakre Sattvat Samhitam Yasyam Vaishuyamanayam Krishne Padama Purushe Bhaktirudpadyate Pumsa Shoka Moha Bhayapaha Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Amalam Gyanam Padam Giyate Tatra Gyane Vairagya Bhakti Sahitam Naiskanyam Aviskritam Tachchin Vansupaten Vachayana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchan Naraha Arto Yam Brahma Sutranam Bharatarta Vinirnayaha Gayatri Bashurupo So Vedanta Paribrimitaha Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Sadam Sadam Samudritam Sarva Vedanta Sadam Hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate Tad madra samrita tripta shyanam yatra svedvachi kvachit Krishna bhakti rasa swarup Shri Bhagavata Tate Veda Shastra Hoite Parama Mahatma Chadi Veda Upanishade Jata Kichu Hoya Tada Arita Lana Vyasa Korila Sanchaya Sutre Jeru Vishaya Bachana Bhagavate Seru Sloke Nirbandhana Jivera Nishtara Lagi Sutra Koilo Vyasa Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoya Sarvanasa Jaho Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavera Stane Ekanta Shayakoro Chaitanya Charane Bhagavata Jainamane Sejavana Sama Tada Sasta Achi Janme Janme Prabhu Jama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya My Guru Maharaj used to say that if you don't do any other sadhana, every day you should hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Now you may say, well, what about japa? That was in a different category for him. He said, better you die than not chant your daily japa. But Bhagavatam is such a wonderful thing because it's, at least for the listeners, it's really a hoitaki. It's not that they make an announcement. We want to thank Bhakta Jeff for coming to Bhagavatam class. He's so nobody praises you for attending class. It's people who are coming because they want to hear the Bhagavatam. It's a very beautiful way to come together. It's described in the 11th canto, 330. Parasparanukataṇaṁ pavanam bhagavadyasa, that we should learn how to associate with devotees by coming together and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're reading from chapter 78, texts 1 to 4, and I'm also going to read the chapter summary. So please listen carefully. This chapter relates how Lord Krishna killed Dantavakra in Vidurata, visited Vrindavan, and then returned to Dwarka. It also describes how Lord Baladev killed the offensive Romaharshana Sutta. Intent upon avenging the death of his friend Śālva, Dantavakra appeared on the battlefield with club in hand. Lord Krishna took up his own club and came before him. Dantavakra then insulted the Lord with harsh words and struck him a terrific blow on the head. Without budging in the slightest, Lord Krishna bludgeoned Dantavakra's chest, shattering his heart. Dantavakra had a brother named Vidurata, and he became distraught at Dantavakra's death. Taking up his sword, Vidurata confronted Sri Krishna, but the Lord cut off Vidurata's head with his Sudarshan disc. Lord Krishna then visited Vrindavan for 2 months, and finally he returned to Dwarka. When Lord Baladev heard that the Pandavas and Kauravas were about to go to war, in order to remain neutral, he left Dwarka on the pretext of going on pilgrimage. The Lord bathed in sacred places such as Prabhas, Chitrakup, and Vishal, and eventually came to the holy Naimisharanya forest where great sages were performing an extended fire sacrifice while being worshipped by the assembled sages and offering a seat of honor. The Lord noticed that Romaharshana Sutta, sitting on the speaker's seat, had failed to stand in deference. Greatly angered by this offense, Lord Balaram killed Romaharshana by touching him with the tip of a blade of kusha grass. The assembled sages were disturbed by what Lord Baladev had done, and they said to him, "You have unknowingly killed a Brahmin. Therefore, even though you are above the Vedic injunctions, we request you to set a perfect example for the general populace by atoning for this sin." Then Sri Baladev, following a Vedic maxim that, quote, "one's son takes birth as one's own self," end of quote, granted to Romaharshana's son, Ugrashrava, the position of speaker of the Puranas, and in accordance with the sage's desires, he promised Ugrashrava a long life with unfailing sensory capacity. Wanting to do something more for the sages, Lord Baladev promised to kill a demon named Balvala, who had been polluting their sacrificial arena. Finally, on the sage's advice, he agreed to go on a year-long pilgrimage of all the holy places in India. So, reading text 1. Śrī-śuka śiśupālasya śālvasya śiśupālasya śālvasya pauṇḍrakasyāpi durmatiḥ pauṇḍrakasyāpi durmatiḥ para-loka-gatānāṁ para-loka-gatānāṁ kurvan pauṛokṣya-sauhṛdam Others can chant, please. Śrī-śuka uvāca śiśupālasya śālvasya pauṇḍrakasyāpi para-loka-gatānāṁ kurvan pārokṣya-sauhṛdam śrī-śukaḥ
śiśupālasya śālvasya
śrī-śukaḥ śiśupālasya śālvasya Any Matajis like to chant? Śukadeva Gosvāmī para-loka-gatānāṁ kurvan pārokṣya-sauhṛdam. I'm going to read the next verse by myself, and then we'll read, because these two verses are given together, then we'll read the word-for-word synonyms. We'll start with the word-for-word synonyms. Śrī-śuka Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, śiśupālasya for Śiśupāla, śālvasya, Śālva, pauṇḍrakasya, api, durmatiḥ, evil-hearted Dantavakra, para-loka, to the next world, gatānāṁ, who had gone, and kurvan, doing, para-lokṣya, for those who have passed away, sauhṛdam, act of friendship. Text number 2. Eka padātiḥ saṅkruddho gadā-pāṇiḥ prakampayan padbhyām imāṁ mahā-rāja mahā-sattvo vyadṛśyata. Translation. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, acting out of friendship for Śiśupāla, Śālva, and pauṇḍraka, who had all passed on to the next world, the wicked Dantavakra appeared on the battlefield in a great rage, O king. All alone, on foot, and wielding a club in his hand, the mighty warrior shook the earth with his footsteps. Please repeat. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, acting out of friendship for Śiśupāla, Śālva, and pauṇḍraka, who had all passed on to the next world, the wicked Dantavakra appeared on the battlefield in a great rage, O king. All alone, on foot, and wielding a club in his hand, the mighty warrior shook the earth with his footsteps. Text number 3. Tam tayantam alokya gadamadaya satvaraha avaplutya ratat Krishna sindhum vileva pratyadat. Seeing Dantavakra approach, Lord Krishna quickly picked up his club, jumped down from his chariot, and stopped his advancing opponent, just as the shore holds back the ocean. Purport, BBT purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, when Krishna appeared before Dantavakra, his heroic march was immediately stopped, just as the great furious waves of the ocean are stopped by the beach. Text number 4. Gadam udyamya karusho mukundam prahadurmadaha distya bhavan adya mama drishti patam gataha. Raising his club, the reckless king of Karusha said to Lord Mukunda, what luck to have you come before me today. Purport, Srila Sridhar Swami explains that after having waited for 3 lifetimes, Dantavakra, formerly a gatekeeper in Vaikuntha, could now return to the spiritual world. Therefore, the transcendental meaning of his statement is, how fortunate I am that today I can return to my constitutional position in the spiritual world. In the next verse, Dantavakra will refer to Krishna as Matuleya, a maternal cousin. Dantavakra's mother, Shutashrava, was a sister of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. Gora Braganya Gana Gotra Goloruharam Gopyara Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami. So Sanatana Goswami is described in one beautiful verse. He says that Madeka Bandhu Matsangyan. Madeka Bandhu, my only friend. Matsangyan, my only association is Srimad Bhagavatam. So many other friends, you can't always depend on them. But Srimad Bhagavatam we can depend upon. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is a person, Premamoyi Bhagavata Krishna Shriyanga, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is made out of Krishna Prem. It's part of the body of Krishna. Krishna Tulya Bhagavat Vibhusaya Vishwa. It's non-different from Krishna. It's living. It's a living thing. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam, if we listen very carefully, it has a message for us. It's not just some history, some quaint thing that we read about, some medieval or ancient fables, maybe have some wisdom in them or something. But the Bhagavatam will speak to us. And prati shloke prati akshara nanatakoi, each and every verse, each and every syllable has unlimited meanings in the Bhagavatam. And so these verses, many things could be said about them. And in the purport, our BBT translators have given some commentary from Sridhar Swami about how Dantavakra was saying how wonderful, it's so good that you're finally coming before me. And this is paroksha-vad. It's interesting that in the first verse, the phrase pauṛokṣya-sauhṛdam is used. Paroksha, in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, Krishna says, Paroksha Vadarisaya Paroksha Mamachapriyam. That this Paroksha Vad, it's how the rishis speak, and it's very dear to me. Paroksha means something unseen. So how does it work with this particular verse? Paroksha means something hidden from view. It means something beyond direct perception. So when he says pauṛokṣya-sauhṛdam, it means my friend here. And Śukadeva Gosvāmī uses the word durmatiḥ. Durmatiḥ, that his mati, his intelligence is very wicked. And then in text 4 he uses a similar word, durmada. Mada means intoxicated. And dur, again, means something evil, something very bad. So he has this intoxicated kind of condition. And I find these verses very interesting. Because here we have someone, and Dantavakra, although, as we would say in Hindi, he's a badmash, he's a very bad, his bad association, bad influence, but still he's actually a very learned person. And in his own way, a righteous king, just like one of the most righteous kings who knew the Vedas so well was named Ravan. He just had one bad quality. He hated Lord Ramachandra. But aside from that, he was actually a very good king in many ways. So here's this person who's so learned, Dantavakra, and he's having the great fortune to come before the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what's he doing? Now there's an external meaning, bahiranga karn, and an antaranga karn is both an external meaning and an internal meaning to this verse. I'm not going to touch on the antaranga karn today. It's too long a discussion. I am hoping I can finish with our bahiranga karn discussion. The external point is that here's someone who's having such good fortune. Sometimes we feel sorry for someone who's met Srila Prabhupada, or they've met a devotee, but they didn't appreciate it. Well, how much more can we say about this in the case of Dantavakra? He's having direct sakshat darshan of Krishna, but he doesn't appreciate him. I find this very interesting. And I'd like to try to explore the ramifications of this today. In mundane history, one of the most famous persons was a king they called Alexander the Great. And when he was leaving Greece, his people told him that there were great yogis living in India. And you should go and find some yogi and bring him back. And so he was searching, and after some time he found some sadhu sitting under a tree, absorbed in meditation. And so Alexander sat there at his feet and waited until that yogi opened his eyes. And Alexander offered his pranams, folded his hands, and he requested him, "You please come back to my home country with me. I'll give you anything that you want. My people would love to meet you." And the yogi shook his head no. That sadhu, he said, "No, I'm happy where I am now." And Alexander, he said, "Hey, look, it's not a small time offer. Don't you know who I am? I am Alexander the Great. I can give you so much money. If you want to get married, I can find 20 different girls for you. What would you like? You just tell me." And that sadhu again said, "No, I'm happy right here as I am. This is the first time in his life that anyone had refused Alexandra. And smoke started coming out from his ears. His eyes became very red. And he took his sword out. Heck, don't you know who's speaking to you? I am the great king, Alexandra. And if you don't listen to me, I'll cut off your head. And the yogi just shrugged his shoulders, that sadhu. He said, you can't kill me, you can't do anything to me. You can only kill my body. My body is just a garment that I'm wearing. I'm not this body. I'm not the deha, the body. I'm the dehi, the personality living inside the body. And that sadhu continued. He said, you're telling me that you're a great king, but I don't think so. Can I tell you who I think you are? And Alexander, nobody spoke to him like this. He said, well, who am I? He said, I think you're a slave. Oh. Actually, I think you're a slave of my slave. Alexander said, he was shocked. Nobody would speak to him like this. So how am I a slave of your slave? And then in a voice full of compassion, that sadhu told him, I've mastered anger. Anger is my slave. But you give way so easily to anger. So you're a slave of anger. And so therefore I can see that you are a slave of my slave. So also these verses speak something to us about discourse or discussion. And how Dantavakra is coming and speaking before the Lord. And let's try to understand and analyze what's motivating his particular speech. We know from Srila Madhvacharya and different shastras that there are three types of discussions. These are called vada, jalpa, and vitanda. Vada is in the mode of goodness, jalpa is in the mode of passion, vitanda is in the mode of ignorance. In a vada discussion, both participants just want to know what is the truth. And our acharyas give the example, Madhva says that a vada discussion is generally between guru and disciple. They just want to know the truth, and if their understanding is incorrect, they don't mind, they'll accept it. A jalpa discussion in the mode of passion is characterized that one or both participants just want to be heard. And they really don't care what the other person is saying. You've probably been in some conversations like that. They just go on and on and on and on and on, liking the sound of their voice. Whereas a vitanda discussion in the mode of ignorance is when one or both participants don't give a damn what is the truth. They just want to win. I remember a lecture Hridayananda Maharaj once gave. He said that it's like arguing with someone and they won't accept what you're saying. So finally you take a hammer out and you hit them on the head with a hammer and you say, there, I've hit you with a hammer. And the other person says, no, you didn't. You can't have a discussion with such a person. And Madhvacharya explains that persons who want to advance in a relationship with the absolute truth, they're very careful to stick to vada discussions. And so this is our discussion today. How is it that Dantavakra, he's got some intelligence, he has good education, good lineage, but he's coming before the Supreme Lord, and he's just speaking in such a harsh way. I'd like to read you something from Thakur Bhaktivinod's Chaitanya Siksamrita. He says that to be controlled by prejudice causes many problems. From prejudice arises partiality. From partiality comes disrespect for truth. So this is Dantavakra. He has this prejudice. He has this attachment to Śālva and his different pauṇḍraka, his different friends. And from that prejudice arises this partiality, and from that partiality he doesn't care about the truth. And he goes on, wearing the signs of a Vaishnava is one of the methods of cultivating devotion involving the body. But to think that those signs are the distinguishing characteristic of a Vaishnava is a prejudice arising from sectarianism. Only someone who's wearing tilak and kunti mala can I give respect to. Only that person's a devotee. Controlled by such false beliefs, a person may not respect a real Vaishnava who's not wearing those marks. If a devotee has such prejudice and he cannot find good association within his own sangha, he won't venture to find good association elsewhere. Since nothing can be accomplished without good association, such a devotee falls into a dangerous position. Those who are bound to the varnashram system by prejudice also fail to develop a taste for a higher level of bhakti. And sometimes hatred, which degrades a person even more, may also appear. So although Dantavakra has the greatest good fortune in all the three worlds to have personal association with Krishna, he can't appreciate it. He can't understand who Krishna is because of his prejudice, his attachment. And from that has come this hatred for the Lord. Actually, in the truth, the fact of the matter is that Śālva and pauṇḍraka got the greatest benediction. And he should be so happy. Dantavakra should be so happy. You blessed my friends in the most amazing way. Thank you, thank you. But he can't see that. In the first canto, in the 7th chapter of the Brihanaradiya Purana, there's a conversation between the sage Sanakumar and Narad Muni, where he speaks about the results of harsh words and fault finding. Because that's what I wanted to speak something about today. This vitanda, this speech which is in a mode of ignorance. Asuyopeta manasam damba charavatam tata parushokti ratanam cha sukam neha paratu cha. Persons whose minds are affected, asuyopeta manasam, who are affected by envy and damba achar. Their conduct is full of damba, full of pride. And who are accustomed, parushokti ratanam, who are accustomed to using harsh words. Nachasukam neha padātiḥ. They won't find happiness in this life or in any other lifetime. Yasvasrayo vinashaya kuryad yatnam naro yadi sarvesham shreyasam dhambat sakuryan matsaram sada. And Sanakumar tells Narad Muni that if someone Yasvasraya vinashaya, Shreya vinashaya, you want to destroy all your good fortune, then you should have some malicious thoughts when you see the good fortune of somebody else. Srila Prabhupada says in one purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that one should practice neglect when they see an envious person. And he says, in a very painful way perhaps, he said there are many envious persons in this Krishna consciousness movement, and one must neglect them. And he goes on to explain that such envious persons, when they see the good fortune of someone else, that someone else is spreading the Krishna consciousness movement very widely, Prabhupada speaks about this in the purport, he says they become envious and they want to try to tear him down. So this goes on. We're an international society. In our society we have everybody. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So, yasya kasyapiyo dvesham kuryate mudadir nara chasya sayavani nashyanti shreyamsi munisatama. He addresses Narad Muni as Munisatam, best of the Munis. He says that all the different blessings and religious merit that someone's gotten, they all perish when you hate someone else. Dantavakra is coming directly in contact with Krishna, but he can't appreciate. Nasya kirti samo mrityur, nasti krodha samo ripu, nasti ninda samam papam, nasti moha samam bhyām. He says that there's nasti akirti. Kirti is also a name for Arjuna, someone who's famous. Nasti kirti samo mrityu. There's no death like infamy. There's no enemy. Nasti krodha samo ripu. There's no enemy like anger. Nasti ninda samam papam. There's no sin equal to criticizing others. Nasti moha samam bhyām. And there's no intoxicating liquor like delusion. Brahmahatyari papanam prokta niskrita uttamai dambasya nindakasyapi bhuna granashana niskriti. The methods, someone but brahmahatyari, you may have committed the sin of killing a Brahmin. And other sins, though the methods to relieve oneself from that have been discussed. But there's no means of atonement for three types of persons. Dambasya nindakasyapi bhuna granashana niskriti. Someone who's a hypocrite. Dambasya, very proud person. Nindakasyapi, someone who's a nindak, who's just running around and criticizing everyone else. And the third person in the same category is someone who kills a baby in the womb. For these three types of persons, there's no atonement for them. In Vedic literature, someone who speaks very harshly, they're called a vak-purush, someone who uses harsh words. And both Manu and Apastama in their Dharma Shastras, they recommend very harsh treatment for someone who speaks harshly. He says they should have their tongue cut out, or they should be put to death. So anger is such a thing, angry words. In the Mahabharata, there's a discussion. Draupadi was a little bit of an abhimani. She's a little angry sometimes, even with her husbands. You didn't protect me properly. You were wimps. When they came and started taking my cloth away from me, you didn't do anything. You didn't stand up for me. She was very angry, and Yudhishthira gave her some advice. Kruda puroshaya vacha shreyaso pyavamanyate vacha vacha hikupito na prajaniti karichit. He said that even if what you're saying is true, even your words are true, you're going to give some advice to someone, Dharmatma Prabhu, please don't eat prasadam in the bathroom. It's true, you shouldn't eat prasadam in the bathroom. It's not good. Even if your words are true and they're beneficial, if they're spoken with mundane anger, then people won't be able to accept them. And instead, they're going to see those words as insulting. And the same thing is described in the Skanda Purana. Kruda Purushaya vacha shreyaso pavamanyate vacha vacha hikupoto na prajanati karichit. That when an angry person speaks words that are beneficial, they're still seen as insults. So this is a great lesson that we should learn from Shastra and from our acharyas. In the prayers of the Avanti Brahman, in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a very beautiful prayer which he describes, which perfectly helps us to understand the mentality of Dantavakra. Tam durjayam shatram masaya vegam aruntudam navid vichicha kechit kurvan jasad vigraham atramarcha mitran hudasina vipun vimudha. He says that someone who doesn't conquer his real enemy, the mind, that mind whose urges are intolerable, whose urges torment our heart, they become bewildered and they start creating useless quarrel with other people. Facebook today. And in this way, they think that other people, they divide them into different categories. This is my friend, this is my enemy, this is someone indifferent to me. But there's a beautiful conversation in Paris in 1974 with Srila Prabhupada, devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what is the devotee's greatest enemy? What is our greatest enemy? And Prabhupada said, he himself. Because he's a rascal, he's his own greatest enemy. So just get out of this rascaldom and become your friend. No one is your enemy. You yourself are your enemy. Nobody is your enemy. This is the vision of the saintly persons. This is the vision that we want to cultivate. But as long as we're under the control of the modes of nature, and we don't control our mind, we don't remember the instructions of Shastra and Sadhu and Guru, then we're going to start thinking this person's my friend, this person's my enemy, this person's good, this person's bad, up to the point of Dantavakra meeting Krishna face to face. And thinking Krishna, who's Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, who's a friend of all living entities. Thinking that Krishna is my enemy because Krishna killed my friends. Now I know, some of you are thinking, but we should speak boldly and don't compromise. There's a beautiful statement from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in an article he wrote called Search for the Truth. Listen, very beautiful, powerful words. He said, there's no doubt that the words of the sadhu possess the power of destroying the evil propensities of one's mind. The sadhus in this way benefit everyone who associates with them. There are many things which we do not disclose to the sadhu. The real sadhu makes us speak out what we keep concealed in our hearts. And when you do that, when you reveal your heart to the sadhu, how does he reciprocate? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, he then applies the knife. The very word sadhu has no other meaning than this. He stands in front of the block with the uplifted sacrificial knife in his hand. The sensuous desires of men are like goats. The sadhu stands there to kill those desires by the merciful stroke of the keen edge of the sacrificial knife in the form of unpleasant language. If the sadhu turns into my flatterer, then he does me harm. He becomes my enemy. If he gives us flattery, then we're led to the road that brings enjoyment, but no real well-being. So, there are many friends I have who take statements like this and other statements from Srila Prabhupada also, that we should be very bold, don't compromise, speak the truth, and it's a fact. We must. And they say, therefore, when I go to meet someone, I say, you're a hog, dog, camel, or ass. You're just a donkey. And we insult them in that way. We speak very harshly because that's what the Bhagavatam says. I'm just speaking the truth, Prabhu. But Srila Prabhupada, when he came to South Africa, the devotees were having a little problem. When they had a hard time finding a house because nobody wanted to rent to the Hare Krishnas. Finally, they put on a hat and some Western clothes. And one lady rented her house to them, right next to her house. And she didn't know they were devotees until about 4:30 the next morning. And she wasn't very happy about it, but they had a legal agreement. And so when Srila Prabhupada came, every day when they would come out, that lady would say very bad things to the devotees. And so Prabhupada arrived, and the next morning, Prabhupada was getting ready to go for the walk, and the devotees looked out the window, they saw the lady there in her yard. And they said, Srila Prabhupada, maybe it's better if today we just have a walk inside the house. What are you saying? Prabhupada, this lady, she's very, very harsh in her words. We'll go. And Prabhupada went outside, and the devotees were very shocked and nervous when they saw Srila Prabhupada walk right up to that lady. And Prabhupada went up to her and said, oh, you have such a nice garden. Oh, a nice, pretty house. And every day after that, Srila Prabhupada would go and speak to her. He never said anything about Krishna. He didn't tell her, you're a hog, dog, camel, or ass. He didn't say that to her. He just asked her one morning, he said, do you still have all your teeth? I have all my teeth. And Prabhupada just spoke to her about mundane things. And although, to what I've heard from the devotees there, she never really came to like the devotees, but she really liked Srila Prabhupada. Those Hare Krishna people, I don't know, but their founder, he's very good. So although Srila Prabhupada is the most qualified person, and that lady's really a nonsense, speaking harshly to the devotees, Prabhupada spoke to her in a very sweet way. In the first Vilas of Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatana Gosvāmī quotes a Devi Agama. In that section of Hari Bhakti Vilas, it speaks about the qualifications and behavior of a proper disciple. And it says, Advaitam cha parityagyat. One of the proper behaviors of a disciple is they give up, parityagyat, the attitude that I'm non-different from my Gurudev. It's a very, very subtle and deep point. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke about this in one letter in 1931. He wrote to the devotee, he said that I received your letter, and in the Bhagavatam it's instructed that we shouldn't praise nor criticize other people. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat it's also said that you go to hell by criticizing others. So he said, my instruction to you is not to criticize others, but to correct and purify yourself. And then he said, I'm forced to criticize my own disciples and those who have come to me for instruction. I don't understand why you want to go out of your way to try to perform such a difficult task. Because that's the business of Guru. And therefore, the Padma Purana, when Vyasadeva gives the 10 offenses to the holy name, in the 7th offense he says, Asharadani vimuke prashinvati yaschokpadesha siva nama parad. It's nama parad to instruct someone who doesn't have faith in you. And we've probably seen that movie a few times. You try to give some good instruction to someone. It's good instruction. But they won't listen to me. And even they become angry with me, and it creates some problem. They should listen to me. I'm right in what I'm doing. We can't demand that. If someone doesn't have faith in us, and we want to preach, we want to help them, then what can we do? We only have one recourse. We have then to do the hard work, to behave in such a way that they'll have faith in us. As the great saint, what's his name? Christian saint, Francis of Assisi, once instructed his followers. He told them, you should preach, and if necessary, use words. Very beautiful instruction. We should preach, and if necessary, use words, because real preaching means by our example. Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter in 1971. I've noted your several complaints against the devotees, but it would be better to set the example rather than to criticize the defects of the devotees. We should always remember that we recruit members from the people in general. It's not expected that every one of our members will be immediately come to the standard qualification. The best thing for you is to set the example by your personal behavior and try to reform others, not by criticizing, but by friendly behavior. If sometimes there are any disagreements, we should try to forget such incidences and always be in friendship with each other. We should see that Srila Prabhupada is present. He's taking care of everything. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in one other article, in a Harmonist in 1932, he wrote that the world stands in no need of any reformer. The world has a very competent person for guiding its minutest happenings. A person who thinks that there's some need for reform in the world, he needs to be reformed. Because the world goes its own perfect way, and no one can deflect it, even by the breadth of a hair. And he says that what is necessary is to change our outlook on this world. And he says the Shastra declares that all that's necessary is to listen with an open mind to the name of Krishna from the lips of a bona fide devotee. And then he gives the symptom. What is the symptom that Krishna's name has entered my ear? As soon as Krishna enters a listening ear, he clears up the vision of the listener so that he no longer has any ambition of ever acting the part of a reformer of any other person, because he finds that nobody is left without the highest guidance. It is therefore his own reform that he's increasingly able to realize by the eternally continuing mercy of the Supreme Lord. So we have a responsibility. I have a service that I'm doing today. They asked me to come and speak something on Srimad Bhagavatam. My responsibility is to repeat without watering it down the words of our acharyas, the words of Shastra, and not compromise that. But it doesn't mean that I have the right to go and chastise any one of you personally unless you have faith in me. If I'm your guru, if I'm the temple president, if I'm a parent, I have an obligation to find that fault. But if I don't find myself in that position, then it's not necessary. And I can peacefully just depend upon Krishna to take care of everything. If I do what I'm supposed to do, if I chant the holy name, then Krishna will inspire me what to speak. Krishna inspired me what to say. I'd like to finish with reading you a short conversation, if I can do so, with my Guru Maharaj, Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Something that I find relevant about this subject. Please listen. Devotee asked him, why are there so many conflicting ideas in ISKCON? Maharaj replied, ha! Stop it. There's no conflict, no conflict, no conflict. You're a mad fellow. There's no conflict, no confusion. It's all clear, Baba. Conflict and confusion are within you. Therefore, you see conflict. If you put on yellow glasses, everything looks yellow. A man sees the reflection of his mind. In your mind is conflict and confusion, and therefore you see it outside. When Hanuman went to Ravan's capital, Lanka, he was extremely angry because the demon Ravan had kidnapped his master's wife Sita. Out of anger, Hanuman's eyes were red hot. Ravan had kept Sita in a very lovely garden called the Ashokvan. Ashok means no lamentation. That garden was extremely beautiful. Ravan had brought so many varieties of nice flowers, fruits, and birds from the heavenly planets. There were wonderful springs and ponds. Hanuman went there, but he saw no variety. He saw everything was red because anger was inside him. His eyes were red hot. Do you understand? Are your doubts clear? And the devotee said, no. Maharaj said, why not? And the devotee replied, he said, well, for example, when Prabhupada was directly present, everything in ISKCON was under his direction. And Gaur Govinda Maharaj replied, he's still directing, but you can't see it. You have no vision. It'll take time for you to understand. Be patient and wait. All these problems are inside of you. The conflict is within you. Therefore, you see such things outside. Srila Prabhupada once came to a GBC meeting in Mayapur. And when he walked in, the devotees stopped and offered obeisances. And Srila Prabhupada spoke the following words to them. Prabhupada said, this chanting should go on. Instead of meetings, resolutions, dissolutions, revolutions, and no solutions, there should be chanting. This is the Hare Krishna movement. Shada sabde vishvaskai suited in his choice. Krishna bhakti koile sarva karma krita hoy. And in our movement, faith is defined as the understanding that all I have to do is Krishna bhakti. Chant the holy name without offense. Serve the Vaishnavas, take prasadam, read Srimad Bhagavatam, and everything will be taken care of. That doesn't mean, again I want to say, doesn't mean we shouldn't speak the truth, doesn't mean we should compromise. But we have to have a little sanity. Dantavakra had no sanity. He's coming in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and out of attachment, bodily attachment, friendship to some demons, he's speaking harsh words to him. And sometimes we see persons do the same thing with devotees out of some bodily attachment or institutional attachment. They have some sectarianism, and they like this person and they hate this person. And it has no meaning. It has no meaning. Stay in our Sangha. Chant Hare Krishna with the devotees. Work on this Sangha. Don't compromise the truth. But first, we should preach to ourselves. And as Francis of Assisi said, you should preach. And if necessary, use words. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I'm sorry we've gone a little over time. I don't know the system here. Is there time for questions or comments, Priti Prabhu?
I mean, Bhakti is another statement, but needs no reform. It's just a classic. It's just a wonderful way to explain. There is something in West Kerala. It's called the epitaph of the unknown monk.
Epitaph of the unknown monk.
You know, I'm going to tell you something. He says, when I was young, I tried to change the world. When I got older, I thought I could only change my country. When I got even older, I thought maybe I could change my family. But now on my deathbed, I realize if I ever only change myself, then I can change my family, my nation, probably the whole world. That's what it comes down to it, you know. Why do you see the speck of dust in your brother's eye, as it says in the Bible? You don't see the log of irrevocably wrong. Take the log of bone out of your own eye, and you won't see the speck of dust in your brother's eye. Wow. That's right in the Bible.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. What a beautiful comment. Yesterday I was really embarrassed by Bhanubhata Prabhu. He's my Guru Jana. He's a Prabhupada disciple, and he came and he was being very respectful to me. I want to say something. I have so much love and respect for all of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, not necessarily because they pronounce Sanskrit perfectly, or they know millions of shlokas or this or that, but because they're still here. Because of the service they've done for Srila Prabhupada. That's real bhakti. That's real devotion, and that's what we should really appreciate. They're speaking with their activities, with their actions, not just their words. And you being here for so long, Priti Prabhu, you're doing that for us. Thank you. Anybody else has something, Mataji? Can someone carry that mic to her? One beautiful thing to me, I find in many different Puranas and Vedic literatures, is the glorification of sweet speech and how we should speak very sweetly to others. And I was maybe going to go in that direction also, but there's no time today. But such a nice thing. This is culture. Mataji had something?
That's a very nice lecture. It's very illuminating and encouraging. I'm a little confused about the one comment you made. A person who thinks the world needs to reform himself. It's something to the effect that because the world is unfolding perfectly. I don't exactly understand that. Prabhupada's books are all about reforming society to promote goodness and beyond. So I'm quite confused by your comment.
Thank you. It's really important. Srila Prabhupada said so many times, he criticized, he called them hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. Scientists and different persons. And in its introduction to the Bhagavatam, he said the purpose of this Bhagavatam, Tagvad Visargo Janataga Viplavo, is to create a revolution. That's the purpose of this movement, to create a revolution in the lives of the impious persons. So then how do we understand this other statement of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that someone who thinks there's some need for reform, they need to be reformed? Or let's expand that a little. How do we understand Srila Prabhupada's comment in Paris to that devotee who said that there is no enemy? The devotee is his own enemy. These seem like contradictory statements. But our Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma, he says that the Acharya speaks in two ways, Tatkalika and Sarvakalika. Tatkalika means according to the time and place, and Sarvakalika means for all time and all place. All time and all place, chant Hare Krishna. But Kalika, he may chastise one person, he may praise another person, and sometimes he may speak one thing, that this world is in need of revolution. And then other times he may say there's no enemy, but our mind is the only enemy. Both things, if we consider them carefully, are correct. It's not that we go to Arta Kakyuti Nyaya, the logic of half a hen. I like this statement better than this other one. I like it when Prabhupada says we should chastise and speak boldly, but then I neglect and overlook all these other statements. So my humble understanding is that Srila Prabhupada, in general, for outside people and for devotees, new devotees, he stressed that we have to make a revolution in this world. And it made the devotees very enthusiastic. And so many times Prabhupada said the Krishna conscious movement is going to take over the whole world. And devotees were ready for it, isn't it? They're so excited. I see the devotees are going out 8 to 12 hours a day doing Harinam in the old days. They were so excited that we're here to create a revolution. And it has in so many ways. The world is changing because of that. But at the same time, it's also a fact, as Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita, manimitam kritam papam abhidharma, excuse me, different verse. He says, you be my instrument, Arjuna. Krishna's doing everything. And we should understand that. I have to do my duty. I have to go out and speak to non-devotees and give them books and speak the truth. If we give Bhagavatam class, we have to speak the truth. We have to quote Shastra, even if it's unpalatable. That's my duty. But I have to understand the words don't belong to me. They belong to Srila Prabhupada. They belong to our acharyas. They belong to Shastra. And if any powerful things happen, it's them who are doing that thing, not me. I'm not doing anything. So in that sense, both things are correct. And in a higher sense, we should be able to accommodate both. We should go out and create a revolution, but we should realize that it's Krishna who's doing the revolution. It's Srila Prabhupada who's doing the revolution. I've distributed books for so many years. It's an amazing thing when you give someone a book and you look them in the eye and you say, you know, you're not that body. And sometimes they say, wow, that's amazing. Nobody's ever told me that. And it may change their life. So should I think that, wow, see how powerful I am? I didn't know. I'm just a humble messenger. I'm just repeating what Srila Prabhupada said. I can't understand it. I think I am my body. I have no realization about it. But if I repeat what he said in a sane way, without banging them on the head too much, according to their ability to take it, some result is there. Is that helpful? Something, Mataji? Okay, thank you very much. I think we should go ahead and stop there. We've gone way over time. Thank you all so much. It's the best song in the world to be with devotees hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Srila Prabhupada ke, Go Premanande, Vanchakopadurubhischa, Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha, Patitanam Pa.